You know, now these, just so that you know the stories, you need to hear these stories so that as an educational process, to know how they learn, what they learn, so you don't go make the same mistakes. Okay? These are not just bedtime stories. Okay? Just wanted to clarify that. How about, is it Kim Suter? Kent Suter. Come on up.
No, we got Keith up here.
Oh, you do it one at a time?
Yeah.
Oh, see, they never tell. I'm
I
sorry.
don't
We'll
know
let you
if they
go
all
back.
three start talking. I don't know if I don't know. Sorry.
My bad.
I'm just guessing it. I don't know.
Okay. Keith.
There's a few years experience. I didn't start in this business until the 70s. Another thing that's important for me to know is that I retired about 28 years ago. Had no increase in pension or Social Security since. So if you ever want to retire, you better find your own path. Another thing I consider is the most dangerous investment in the world is cash. You're guaranteed to lose 4% a year, at least. One of the definitions of money is it's supposed to be a stable store of value. We all know that's not true with our policies in this country today. We have an unholy alliance between big corporations and politicians. If you don't pass this law for me, write it out like my staff has written, if you don't pass that, I'm not going to give you a cent toward your reelection. And today we have career politicians that depend on that, and if they don't take care of these corporations, they don't have every year, today, a week ago, went in the store, you see these little plug-ins that you multiply, you get 3 outlets out of 1. Went into Ace Hardware, and they've reduced the price to $6.50 for this little thing. Okay? So inflation is raging, and today you don't compete if you're a corporation. Don't compete with them, buy them. You've seen it left and right. So, the person that thinks he's going to retire on his pension is very naive. If I hadn't set myself up and made the commitment and do the work with my investment properties, it'd be a tough time today in that small house. So I have they talk a little bit. One motto I've always hit too is paralysis by analysis. Okay? You get your standard of what you're going to analyze, and remember, you aren't going to live in it. So you don't fall in love with the house. You look at this house. If it meets this criteria, like he said, you are. If it doesn't, on to the next one. You can always buy, you can't always sell. That's one thing you learn in this business. And that's both a plus and minus. But the one thing that we talk about economy, inflation also, but there's one word in our deal that really counts for you. It isn't paper, it's real. Okay? It's real. And if you own a house, it's stayed up with inflation better than any other thing you can do, and nobody can pull the plug. When I was with IBM, one of these fellows had a motto. He said, Archie's in, pull the plug. Archie's out, let her go. The market is so manipulated by trillionaires. But here with our individual properties, or even if it's 4-plex, 8-plex, whatever, and your management is excellent because it gives a damn. It's you. Okay? So that's some things I philosophize about and have lived with on But again, it isn't quick and easy, like they said at the TV says, but it works. It worked for me and it worked for you.
Keith? Okay, Kent, come on down. You think you're interested in door number 1, door number 2, or...
He's afraid of you, he's gonna stand by me. Oh.
Hold your attention. My name's Ken Suter. I've played around the real estate market for 30 plus years now, primarily. Sorry, Keith. Turn up the hearing aid.
No.
My name's Ken Suter. I've played around the real estate market for over 30 years in the Kansas City area, primarily. Most of what I've owned has been single-family houses. I would say the best advice would be to pick an area, know what the values are in that area, know what the demographics are in that area, and play in that area. The places I've lost money in is when I moved out of town, got involved in properties I didn't understand, and wasn't capable of managing. You're all going to make mistakes. We all will. But try not to make the same mistake the second time, the third time, and the fourth time.
How did you get started in it?
I started out life as a chemical engineer from Minnesota Mining. Got married in college. My wife happened to be an attorney, and we were making some pretty big bucks between the two of us. And I started out primarily for the tax savings and got involved in a couple of deals that didn't really make any sense, but it looked good on the tax return at the end of the year. And about a year into that program, I changed courses considerably and said, you know, there's ways to make money in this business and get some tax benefits. And never looked back.
Off to the races.
That's right. And
Awesome.
I think Dave said that the biggest thing is, you know, find something you like and put some passion into it. Because if you don't enjoy what you do, it doesn't matter how much money you're making at it. It's not going to work for you.
What's the thing, what would you say is, 2 questions here, the number 1 mistake that inexperienced real estate investors make, and what would be the best piece of advice that you could give to the audience tonight as far as investing in real estate? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, no, I'm just, I think probably one of the mistakes I made early on was, and I'm going to call it pride of ownership property. I want to own this glossy, big edifice over here. You're probably way better off with the blue-collar, beans and cornbread kind of single-family house or apartment building rather than going after something that is a pride of ownership. I'm not Donald Trump. Having my name on it doesn't mean anything. That's probably the biggest thing I can think of off the top of my head is to, analyze the property, but you've said it before, pull the trigger. That you get something that makes sense. And for your first deal, I mean, you're in the Kansas City market. $50,000 will buy you a pretty decent house here in general. Buy a $50,000 house in a neighborhood you understand. Don't start out with a $250,000 house and try to flip it. One of the things that, well, I'm not saying that you can't be successful doing that. I'm simply saying that for the average person, I'm assuming that most of you sitting here starting out don't have $1 million in cash for a cushion, that okay, if the first deal doesn't work, I'll take that as my learning lesson. It was kind of an expensive tuition, but we'll do another one and get it right on the second or third round. But I always tried to buy things that I was comfortable owning for 5 years. Because I may have to own it. I may think I'm going to flip it, but I may end up owning it because my numbers didn't quite work right, the margin's not there, but if I've bought it priced right, I can rent it, make a few bucks each month, and wait for the market to change.
Good, so. Okay. Thank you.
Dave, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Before we call Tom up, did you pick up on that key piece of what Kent said? He talked about segmenting the market. Now, how many of you know what I mean when I'm talking about segmenting the market? Not very many. Okay. By segmenting the market, you know the demographics. You know if it's a blue collar. You know if it's an executive level of employment, that people have executive jobs, or if it's a blue collar, white collar, that type of thing. You know the value of the properties. You know what the market's done in the last 2 years. You've got a good idea, a good feel for what it's going to do. You ought to be able to drive through that neighborhood and within 10 minutes know what that house would sell for fixed up. You need to know who you can market it with. You need to know how to market those people. So there's a whole big thing going into segmenting the market, and that's a key factor in success in this business. I mean, there's a lot of key factors there, but that's one of them. It's kind of like putting your power team together. It's a big wheel, and you've got several spokes going down to the center hub, which is your company. And segmenting the market. In my office, I have an easel with 4 maps of the greater metro area, broken up, divided. And I've got on each of those Kansas City maps, Raytown, Grandview, Independence, you name it, I've got it highlighted with certain colors. Whether it's a rental market, whether it's a flip market. You think you should buy a house that's 98% homeowners and try to rent it out? Flip that around. You think you should buy a house to flip that's 98% rentals? Is that what I just said? Okay. I want to make sure.
I was going to say, I would love to have a rental house in a 98% homeowner arena.
It doesn't generally work that way. Right. So, but that's part of segmenting the market, is know where you can flip it, where you can, what area of town is a good rental. That's part of segmenting the market. And on each of those maps, I have that segmented out. So when I get ready to do marketing, okay, yeah, if I do heavy marketing there, that's definitely going to be held for buy and hold. If I do it in this market, that's going to be a buy and sell.
Well, and you can go in, that information, and I can't tell you specifically, but when I've done what I call market analysis for businesses before, if you have a login for Kansas City Public Library, you can access, and it's very scary, you can access spending, you can access income, all kinds of information by going into those records. So I interjected because I don't want them to think, where do I get this? Go into Kansas City Public Library, get the login, and that information's in there in those databases, the public record. Yes.
Johnson County Public Library, you can do that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, that, it breaks down spending. It's very scary because if you go into a neighborhood and you stretch it out, it'll get down to what kind of liquor they buy and what kind of fishing poles they have.
Yeah,
Big brother's
I mean, that sounds funny, but that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of websites that I use. It's $10 a month. I can get all kinds of information about an area. And plug in the address and pull me up a whole bunch of information. So the resources are there. And that's part of what you're doing in building having a real estate company, you are building a business. Plain and simple. When somebody comes to me and says, hey Dave, can you help me get started in real estate? Sure. But we're not going to go look at houses tomorrow. I just tell them that right up front. Because if you want me to help you build your business, then we need to build a foundation. I'm not just really interested in spending any time with somebody who is looking for a fast buck. Because what happens, and I used to do this, and then now I charge $75 an hour. Somebody wants to meet with me one-on-one at $75 an hour. And the reason I did that is because I used to spend a lot of time with people wanting to get into real estate, and so I wasted a lot of time getting them going. And then because they didn't want to follow the structure I laid out, and they weren't really interested in building a foundation, 2 months, 3 months down the road, it's like, you go meet them somewhere and they're not there, and you give them a call, and it's like, oh yeah, I just got busy today, sorry. Yeah, so I've wasted a lot of time and energy and stuff, So, I mean, you're not building just a quick overnight company. You're building a long-term viable concept. All right. Tom. Trappers.
This ain't right. I give mine to Chris.
Come on up, Tom.
Shy up there.
Chris said you were, he's paying you too, $5,000. Chris is paying you $5,000 to talk a couple minutes.
I'm gonna give him that.
All right, give him, pay back.
Man, if I talk a couple of minutes for maybe $5,000.
You can get it. Well, I didn't come with anything, so I don't know what to talk about.
How long have you been doing real estate?
Maybe 5 minutes. No, 35 minutes.
So a long time. So
I can throw something out there, I guess.
yeah, we would have known you did.
That's right, you think it's true.
How did you get started in real estate?
Took Al Lowry, or no, it was a Robert Allen course. I started in 1980 with this group, in 1980. I wasn't one of the original founders, but...
Is that when you could fog a mirror, you could get along?
Yes, basically. Yeah, that actually happened later too, the early 90s or
Yeah,
something
early
like that
90s,
too, and that's
yeah.
what ended the real estate. I'm a single family guy, buy mostly single families. I look for little small houses like 1,000 square feet that have basements, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, don't matter to me. I look in the rental neighborhoods, 50,000. Started out buying inner city properties. Didn't have a job, so I had to make some money. And started borrowing money from somebody in the group who would loan me. Back then, we'd buy houses for $5,000 and $7,000 and stuff like that. He'd loan me either $8,000 or $10,000, and I'd put the additional money in my pocket to fix the house and live off of that money and go do the next one. And my guys, for years, I've probably bought 400 or 500 houses, I think, over that period of time. There's years I've done as many as 50. But I've always stayed with single families. They're easier to get rid of than commercial buildings. I know somebody who invest only in commercial buildings who are worth more money than me, if that means anything, but they have some bigger losses too. So one thing an old guy told me once, I don't know why they're calling all the gray hairs up here tonight, but
That's because I'm great.
is that what it is? Keep it family? Well, when I first got started, probably about 82, I started in 80, about 82, a guy started loaning me money who's no longer with us, I told you about. And he was an investor, and he only bought little bitty houses. And I was asking why, and he said, well, it's pretty, if you lose money on a house, it's easier to take a $5,000 or $10,000 house than a $150,000 apartment building or something, because that's what they used to sell for when I got started. So I always stuck with the smaller deals. I'll tell you about the best thing I found in real estate over probably the last 15 years, other than the last crash. Last crash, man, that was cool. Made a ton of money in the last 6, 7 years, guys, probably more than I ever made over 30 years, if you want to know the truth. But probably the best thing I've found for real estate lately is self-directed IRAs. If you guys don't have one of those or don't know about them, you need to. And that's not really real estate, but it is probably the neatest tool I've used my real estate school for my real estate knowledge into anyway. Ask me another question.
Would all three of you guys so far agree that there's highs and lows in real estate?
Oh my God, yes.
What's your highest and what's your lowest point in real estate?
My lowest point and highest.
Yeah, when did you reach your lowest point in real estate?
The day I started.
That's honest.
That's honest. I went through the last crash. I didn't lose anything. I think I lost one house because of some funky deal I do. It's trying to do. You get bored in this business. I'll say that. I've had over 100 houses at I think 3 different times in my career, and I'll get a lot of them. And I go, yeah, this sucks. It's too many houses. So I'll sell them all off at 10 or 20, and I'll say, I need some more houses. I'll say, how much more? And so I've done all that. I've invested in businesses, cash businesses also, and the one thing I wished I would have done was never got bored and stayed in real estate business. I would have made a lot more money than trying other stuff, actually. My highest point was probably 2011 or 10, which is what I felt was the low of maybe 9, which is what I felt was the low of the crash. Because one thing I've learned also, being in real estate business all these years, it's always done this. Now, it's not bad here in the Midwest. Our industry is usually always going up really slow here in the Midwest, 3% a year, if you had to figure out some number. I've got sisters and relatives who live on the coast, and I see their real estate go like this maybe the same year. So, but our industry is always steadily, not always, 99% of the time, 90% of the time, steadily going up. And when I seen the bottom of the crasher, I quit buying, I think 05, 06, when I found out that person who put an application in to rent one of my houses, I said, I ain't renting to that guy. And somehow I found out, and I don't know particulars, that they bought a house. I said, my God, if those people can buy houses, we're in for trouble. So I quit buying houses. And about that time, I was buying 20 or 30 every year. And I'd either flip them or rent them or owner finance them or whatever I do, because I was in the business just doing it all. And so I quit buying there for a couple of years, 05, 06, 07. And I'd buy maybe one house a year for those 3 years. And it was just something I couldn't pass up. And then, like I said, I think about 9, 10, 11, I just started seeing those really nice houses that you see in nice rental houses that was worth maybe $100,000, selling for 30. And I said, my gosh, it's time to regroup and come back at it. And that's what I did. I started, a lot of the lenders had gone out of business, but just started picking up the funds and trying to buy everything I could at that low point. And now I'm just trying to understand where the market's at, so when it reaches up here, I may not have as many again. I don't know. But that's something, that's exactly right. That's something I really try to watch or pay attention to.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Tom.
you.
All right, guys.
You know, one of the key things that Tom just said is that he mentioned 08, 09, and 010. That was at the height of the crash. In 09, at the end of 08, when I got into real estate and bought my first property, you know, everybody thought I'd lost my marbles. I sold it in 09, April of 09, and walked away with a $30,000 check in my pocket. That wasn't such a bad deal. So if you know what you're doing, again, It's you have to invest in yourself, knowing what you need to do, your due diligence, educating yourself, knowing when to buy, how to buy, that type of thing. You know, if somebody, I mean, people come to me all the time, and everybody, my brother and my family knows what I do. They have to. I want everybody to know what I do. They'll come to me and say, hey, Dad, I've got a great deal for you. This person over here is wanting to sell this house, and I think you're only asking about $50,000 for it. You know, right away now, I know that, okay, that means I could probably pay about 30. Now, I'm serious. Because everybody that's trying to sell their house thinks their house is worth that much. I looked at a house up north of the river on the Missouri side, and it's about 90%, I'd say about 85% rentals. Typical 3-bedroom, 1-bath starting home, old basement, nothing fancy, you know. And it's been empty, been vacant now for 5 years. I knew the guy that lived there when he died, sent his daughter, a stepdaughter who had power of attorney, sent her a letter telling her I was interested in buying it. So she let me come out and look at it. And so I said, Joyce, what do you think? You have any idea what you're asking for it? Not that I care. Does it matter to you what they're asking for it? No. Yeah. Well, more times than not, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so she said, yeah, you know, a friend of mine in Independence had a house like this, and she said she could get $55,000 for her house. So I think I can get $50 for this one. Fixed up, cheered out. A house will bring maybe 90 to 95. And well, I was going to have to put 30 into it. So, what do you think my offer was for her? It was my best offer. In fact, it was about $2,500 more than I really wanted to pay, but I really wanted a house because I knew I could move it fast.
25.
It's $29,500.
Good jump. Good jump.
Yeah, $29,500 is what I offered. And that was $2,500 more than I really wanted to pay, but I thought, you know, I can get this thing. I know I can move this thing. She wouldn't do it. No, are you kidding? I can get $50,000 out of this house. That was 4 years ago. Drove by the house today. The big limb sitting on top of the roof now. It fell out of the tree. Didn't hurt the roof. I mean, I stopped and looked. She still wants $50,000. So, you know, there's people out there like that, but it's all how you buy it. So, Cindy, we missed anything?
We've got to, the other thing we would like for you all to do, I messed up and I didn't get your information is when you come in. If you would like to be on our email contacts, okay?
When we come back.
Yeah.
Oh. You want me to tell this?
No, I will. For future events, okay, and then how, as the club changes, there's 2 pieces of paper back there. Put your name down and your email and everything, or contact information on there, or email Dave Wright, okay? And then we'll put you on into the list.
We will.
Into the list to stay on top of the current, you know, as KCIG moves forward, okay? And then,
Cindy,
yes, sir?
are you going to keep the original, are you going to keep the list you have now?
Yeah.
We're set up.
Yeah, we're gonna have all our contact lists that we have
Okay.
now. But anyone that wants on the contact list now and in the future, that's either email us or sign up on those sheets back there. Just your name, your email.
Yeah, we definitely want to keep in touch with you guys and let you know when we get ready to fire this thing, because we're planning on coming to that bigger, better, stronger, kind of like the $6 million man.
And then you all go ahead and have more snacks, network, and then we'll finish the raffle because we still have more stuff.
All
So,
right.
thank you for coming tonight. I really appreciate it.
Round of applause for the guys that came up and spoke.